Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to Canard Boulevard. Today we are going to get to work on getting the engine running with all the upgrades and maintenance that's been required. It is finally warm and sunny outside. Planes are flying and I need to get there because it's going to be nice all week. I want to get back up in the air. First thing, as many of the others are, obviously. First thing I want to work on is installing the Magneto that has had its IRAN done. It's a 500-hour IRAN. So I have removed the bottom plug. Normally I do the top plugs, but the bottom plugs need to be changed anyway. I have some new plugs, so I've got those plugs ready to go. I pulled the old plugs out, and now I'm going to turn down the radio so you can hear me. So what I'm going to do is put my finger over the plug hole of cylinder number 1. You can see right there it says number 1. And what we're going to do is rotate the propeller until I feel pressure on pushing out of that hole. So that means the valves are closed and the piston is moving upwards. Okay, so now I've got pressure pushing there. So I can feel as I'm pushing, I've got pressure building there. So now I can take a flashlight and I can look in that hole and I can see the piston moving. And yes, I can see it is at top dead center right there. And if I look, I've got 2 indications on the flywheel that will tell me that I'm at top dead center. The first one is a mark right there, top center number 1. You can see that. And when that little hash right there lines up with the center of the case mark, right in the middle there of the case mark, you can take a flat edge or something and extend it out there and see that that is actually top dead center, correct? We can also come down here. We see this little dot on the starter right there. When that lines up with that mark right there, you can just barely see it in the flywheel. There's a little hash there, you can see, and it says TC there. I got a reflection on there, you can see that. So we want to line that up with that dot, which is correct. So you can see without parallax, it's hard to do with this camera because I'm doing it with my eye at the same time, but you can see that's lined up. So now we know this is exactly at top dead center. And we also have 3 marks over here that are indicating 20, 23, and 25 degrees before top dead center. This engine, if we look at the data plate over here, we can see right here that this should be set to 25 before top dead center for this engine. So that's how we're going to set that. And we also have the same markings on the top here. If we want to use that one, you can actually see we have hash marks there for 20, 23, and 25 that we can use to line up this way. So we're going to use that to time the engine with the Magneto. So now that we know it's a 25 degree before top dead center, we're going to rotate the engine until it lines up. So we want that hash mark for the 25 to line up perfectly with that dot. And then we can verify that by taking a straight edge along the case half here and just make sure that it lines up perfectly with that 25 mark. So now we know the engine's in the correct position to install the Magneto. Alright, so we'll take off our yellow tag here. Here's our vent, which we are going to be taking out and replacing with our Tach pickup. So here's our tachometer pickup here. Alright, so we're going to add just a light touch of thread sealant. Oh, oops, that's a little too much. Now you notice there's still a vent hole in there because the vent still needs to function. So we do that to finger tight and then about 1/16 of a turn. So not too tight. So next we're going to time the Magneto. So we've got our Magneto, slick Magneto timing pin here. And as you can see, it has 2 shoulders on there and the pin at the end there. And this, if we look at it, we can see that this is a rotation, left-hand rotation L. So on here you'll see there's an L, and they've helpfully painted that in white so we don't screw it up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to push this pin in there and gently apply pressure, and we're going to rotate the magneto itself. I actually have to rotate it backwards because otherwise it'll engage the impulse coupler there. So we're going to rotate it backwards until that pin slots in. There it is, right there. So now we've rotated the magneto, and you can see the pin has gone into the first shoulder there. I'm going to do that one more time just so you can see it. If I pull it out, then I rotate back a bit. Now apply pressure, and as I rotate it, it just slots right in. So now we know this magneto is timed and ready to be installed. An Aircraft Magneto Service really did an above board, just an amazing job on the mag overhaul. And they sent me this bag of goodies, which is all the parts they took out of my old the magneto. So here you can see there's the old bearings they took out, and they replaced those. There's a label that tells you how tight to torque the P-lead, which I already knew, but that's fine. And here's the old impulse coupler, and the reason they said this was out of spec was right there. You can see the rivets on there were too loose on those arms, and so because those are out of spec, they said they had to replace that, which I was fine, because if these actually break and the pieces of rivet come off, it sends little bits of metal through your engine, and that's very, very bad. Here we can see the old points that they took off, so that's nice. You can see the little cam will push this down right here, and that's what opens and closes the points every time the engine revolves. And I don't know if you can see the condition of those points, but they just replaced that regardless. Here's the seal that they replaced, and the gear that they replaced, and then of course all the hardware and bits, bits and pieces, and this cotter pin. Ignore this piece of epoxy that was left. Actually, you can see some in there too. That was left over from my Tach pickup. But that's it. That's all the parts they took off and replaced on my Magneto, and I'm quite pleased to see all these parts, and now they're all going in the garbage. And before we do that installation, we have a gasket that goes on, and helpfully Aircraft Magneto Services gave us a replacement. I already had some, but now I have extra, so here we go. And there's that gasket that will go on there to seal against the engine. Alright, let's go put this on the engine. We can see that I've got tape on here covering up the magneto mounting plate. That's to prevent moisture getting there while we've been waiting for the magneto to get overhauled. And I'm just going to peel that off of there. And now I'm going to get some alcohol on a wipe and just make sure that mating surface is nice and clean. So let's make sure that's good and clean. Alright, we're going to be very careful not to bump the prop while we're doing this, because we don't want to mess up our timing. And now we're going to maneuver the magneto down in here. Actually, how did I do this before? I think I brought it in from below. Alright. And we'll get the gasket on it. And then maneuver it. Get this out of the way. Up into the engine. Come on, little nut, get on that stud. There we go. That nut does not want to go on there. Did I cross thread it maybe? Not sure. The other one went on nice and easy. Let me turn it around maybe. No. Yeah, it's definitely not cross-threaded. It's just got gun jointed or something, so I'm going to have to actually use a tool to get that on. Okay, we'll just snug that up. I don't want to tighten it yet. And now we're going to pull the pin out the back of the Magneto. You can get it out. There we go. So this is my Magneto Synchronizer. My dad gave me this, and it's been his, I have no idea how long he's owned this thing. Probably decades. Well, I know decades, because I remember him using this when I was a little kid to time the mags on his tri-pacer back when I was, you know, not even 10 years old. So I just took it apart to put new batteries in it. And I just look at the inside of it's elegantly simple. So it's just got a relay here that's configured as a buzzer. And you have neon lights, but neon lights need a lot of volts, like 70 volts. So underneath, it's got these transformers that go from 6.3 volts to 115 volts. And so each of the Magneto leads go through that buzzer, through the transformer to generate the AC to light up these neon lamps, because they didn't have LEDs back then. So if I turn this on, you can see it's buzzing. That little buzzer, and it lights up. How cool is that? So I realized when I got home last night that the video footage that had me hooking this up to the mag and timing the mag to the engine didn't save. So I don't have that video, I'll have everything else, but let's go over that. So this is a synchronizer, and it's basically just a buzz box that makes a noise. It makes a buzzing noise that changes when these leads get grounded to the ground. And it has two different sounds for the two different mags, because you want to be able to time both mags together to make sure that they're synchronized, hence the name Synchronizer. I have one mag and one EIS, so I can't really use it for that. I can use one to set the timing of the one mag, which is what I used it for. So if we turn it on, it's going to make a noise, and the lights light up, and as I touch this, you can see how it makes a difference. And if you have both of them, when you get both of them on, it makes a really loud noise. So how that tells you is that when it makes this noise, hey, okay, now the left mag has engaged, and this one, the right mag is engaged, and if you get them both together, it makes a loud noise, and that tells you that the mags are synced together. The idea being that you hook this to the ground point, and then this goes on the P lead, and then when the points open or close, I think it's when the points close, it grounds the P lead, which then makes the noise. That's right. So what you do is I can't really do this now because I've already hooked up and timed the mag, but I'll give you a demonstration nonetheless to show you at least how it gets hooked up. So here you can see the Magneto. We have the two leads here. Here's the ground point, so we'll hook that onto the ground. And then we hook up the red wire to the P lead connection right here. Just like that. So you can see those hooked up there. And then you turn it on. And what happens is when you then have the engine set at, for this one, 25 degrees before top dead center, and you have the Magneto timed, you put the Magneto on, you pull the pin out, so you put that Magneto in place, you pull that pin out that's holding it in top dead center, and then you rotate the mag, you put the clamps on loosely, and you rotate the mag very gently until you get it right at the point where the buzzer comes on, or changes sound in this one. And then that's close to where it's going to be. And then you come out here to the prop, and you rotate it back a little ways just to take up some of the driveline lash. And then you move it forward till you get to that point where it has the 25 degrees lined up on the spot next to the starter. And if it's timed correctly, just as that line comes up lined with that little dot there, the sound will change. And if it comes in a little bit before or a little bit after, then you make an adjustment to the magneto. You turn it one way or the other, try it again until you get it so that you back up, take up the lash, move forward, and then as soon as the instant that hash mark lines up with that hole, then the sound changes. Now your magneto is properly timed. You tighten it in place, you're good to go. I want to say that's actually a couple degrees off. It's probably a couple degrees off, so let's just fix that. Try it again. Tiny bit more. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have the magneto timed, we then just tighten up those clamps and then we'll start connecting up the wires. Okay, so we want 204 inch-pounds. All right, next, we're gonna hook everything up. Here's the wires for the primary, the P terminal and the ground. And let's start by hooking up the spark terminal, the ignition leads. So, Aircraft Magneto Service very helpfully included all new hardware. Oh, these are Torx. These are Torx screws. I don't know if I have a Torx bit here. The old ones were just slotted. Well, let me go see. Actually, I think I do. Let me go have a look and see if I have a Torx that will match that. Okay, I do have Torx bits here. So let's fit this on here. Now this is designed so that you can't put it on the wrong way. It only fits one way, fortunately. These oil lines are really in the way here. All said, the Torx bits were definitely easier to get in there than the original flathead. And then I installed the wires on the ground and P-lead terminals. All right, I finished hooking up the magneto. Before I am going to do a run-up test, but before I do that, while I have the plugs out, I'm actually going to run the engine, just spin it with no load. Just because it's been sitting here for a number of months and the oil will have dripped down everywhere. I'm just going to spin it, get the oil pressure up and circulating through, and then once I've done that, then I'll put the plugs in, we'll pull it out and do a first test. Clear prop. I saw fuel PSI come up to 14, oil PSI come up to 30. Call that good. Okay, let's get the spark plugs installed. I am doing the database updates on the EFIS, and while that's running, we'll do the spark plugs. Once the spark plugs are in and finished, we'll pull the plane out and run it up. Well, I'm so annoyed. My camera here ran out of battery and actually died, and it didn't, and whenever that happens, it doesn't save anything that it was recording. So a whole bunch of video that I was doing about the plugs and so on, all was gone. So let me show you what I actually got completed. So you can see I've got the plugs installed. I have some Tempest graphite anti-seize. I put on the threads in there, torqued those into place, got the boots on, and then I remembered that I had actually loosened off the alternator because I wanted to put this strut on here, and this is the strut that I could not find the correct strut to fit on here, and it just gives support for the alternator from here to the starter, and that was never installed on this airplane, and as a result the alternator bracket here actually broke, and I had to re-weld it, or get it re-welded a couple years ago. So I modified this strut that I bought that didn't fit. It was the wrong size, but modified it so it does fit. And then did a bunch of trial and error to get it up in there and fastened. While I was at it, retensioned the alternator belt. It was a bit loose. Found a couple of cracks that needed stop drilling, so that's done. And checked the oil. We're pretty much ready to go. I'm going to pull the airplane out and start it up. and see how the new Magneto works. So let's get that done. Flip right. Well, that was a huge success. I ran the engine, started the engine up on the Magneto. It started instantly, perfectly, no problem at all. And I watched all the temperatures come up. I did adjust the idle setting and the idle mixture setting on the fuel servo. Those adjustments look to be spot on now. I did some tests between running it on just the Magneto and just the electronic ignition. Magneto is working perfectly. In fact, it's running a little bit better on the Magneto than it is on the electronic ignition. So I am replacing the electronic ignition, so that's good to know. For now, that is all for this video. I've got a couple more boxes over there of stuff to bolt onto the airplane, but we'll leave that for the next video. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section below. And if you like this video, click like, subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Only 20% or so of the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed, so please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out get my videos out to other people on YouTube. That's it. Thanks for watching.